All right, welcome back. It's time for this morning's bull run. This is the part of the show where we go over the top stories of the day so you can do whatever the hell else you do in your free time. And joining us this morning for our bull run, we have one of our favorite returning guests, Piotr from Xapo Bank. Piotr, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Hank.
Always a pleasure. So pumped to have you here this morning with us, and we've got a lot to talk about. Before we get into it, though, how's everything in your world, Piotr? Things are going well over at Xapo. Any news to report?
Well, it's very busy times right now, but super exciting developments, exciting products that we are rolling out. So yeah, it's a crazy times, but it's good.
Awesome. Well, we got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about today as well. So we're going to get into it. Hang 10. We'll be right back with you after we read this first story. Sound good?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. First up, crypto's favorite billionaire Changpeng Zhao, or CZ, is threatening to sue Senator Elizabeth Warren because apparently presidential pardons now come with sequel drama. Trump pardoned the former Binance CEO last week after he served 4 months in jail and paid a $50 million fine for violating the Bank Secrecy Act. Warren immediately jumped online, posting, CZ pleaded guilty to a criminal money laundering charge and was sentenced to prison. But then he financed President Trump's stablecoin and lobbied for a pardon. Today he got it. If Congress does not stop this kind of corruption, it owns it, which would be a spicy if any of it were actually true. You see, Zhao wasn't convicted of money laundering. He was charged with failing to maintain proper anti-money laundering controls while running Binance, which, sure, sounds familiar, but in legal terms, that's like confusing jaywalking with Grand Theft Auto. Now, through his lawyer, CZ's threatening to file a defamation suit if Warren doesn't retract the post. Warren is now pushing a Senate resolution condemning the pardon and calling it corruption, which, to be fair, sounds about right for a Congress that can't even pass a budget. Now, Warren doubled down, saying she was calling him out for what he's pled guilty to. Zhao's camp responded, no money laundering charge, none of this is true, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you, which is both totally savage and somehow exactly how a crypto billionaire would argue in a tweet thread. Trump's pardon, meanwhile, was controversial because his own family business, World Liberty Financial, is expanding into crypto. Warren says that's corruption. Trump says it's innovation. We're bringing Piotr in. Piotr, Binance founder CZ just threatened to sue Senator Elizabeth Warren after she accused him of money laundering, which wasn't true. Now, for people who don't follow crypto drama every day, what is this whole fight really representing right here? What do you think?
Yeah, for me, it's almost symbolic right now because this means that, the famous war on crypto is ending in the United States. I want to remind everyone that for during the past administration, during the Biden's administration, we had such an unfriendly environment when it comes to crypto and regulation and all around that. There were many, many companies, founders or products that were not built in the United States because they couldn't do it. And so they decided to build it elsewhere, to move their businesses, build products, in Dubai or in Southeast Asia or in other places, but not in the United States. Now, hopefully, we see this as strategic, like a symbolic moment where, crypto, the administration that we currently have is way more crypto friendly. And that means more and more innovation will be back in the United States. And by the way, United States is this one country that everybody always looking up to, including Europeans, including Asians. Everybody's looking what the United States is doing. So I'd love to see this wind of change and this change, because this means that there'll be more interesting products, more companies, more innovation in the space coming out of United States, because finally it's becoming a friendly, innovative environment again, as it used to be before that war on crypto started in the first place. So I'm super happy to see that.
Yeah, this certainly seems to be indicative of that warming regulatory landscape we're seeing for crypto, especially here in the United States. And like you said, everybody's kind of looking to the US of A to see what to do next or not to do. So something like this certainly would seemingly push the needle forward on a global perception as well. But with that being said, Trump's pardon did raise some eyebrows because his own family's company, World Liberty Financial, is expanding into crypto. So, Piotr, in your view, is this the kind of thing that pushes the industry forward or just adds fuel to the crypto is corrupt narrative? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty delicate matter here. I think there are many positions here on this specific issue of Trump's family involvement in the crypto businesses. I mean, on the positive side, I think you could say that this broadens the awareness because now more and more people are learning about what's happening there, and maybe they get accustomed. They learn about crypto and they learn about Bitcoin that way, and then they get involved into the environment. On the flip side, obviously the fact that they are also, the Trump's family is expanding into crypto business may raise some misgivings around or like how the structure is set up and the conflict of interest and what have you. So it's a bit controversial topic here, but yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword. I mean, there are pros to it and cons to it. But I think there will come some positive out of it because more people will learn about crypto and more people will want to learn more, and then we will also have potentially more people learning about Bitcoin, jumping into the deep rabbit hole of Bitcoin, learning about hard money and Bitcoin promise and what Bitcoin solves. And once they are becoming orange pilled, they cannot go back. I haven't seen any Bitcoiner that was just, got reversal of their orange pilling. Once you're there, you can't escape.
Yeah.
You are just there, and you see the world differently through those lenses. So I hope in the end more good will come out of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's kind of any kind of publicity is good publicity, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. Because to your point, I've never seen anyone do their due diligence on Bitcoin and then just be like, no, this isn't for me. It doesn't seem to necessarily work that way. But with Donald Trump and the Bitcoin crypto ecosystem, it always seems to be a 2 steps forward, 1 step back with him, right? Like he's pushing all the crypto and Bitcoin legislation forward, which is great. But then you see things like World Liberty Financial, which obviously raises a lot of eyebrows to people, and understandably so to a certain point. So, but that, again, it does seem like we are moving forward. So Trump is a net positive, certainly, for the crypto and Bitcoin ecosystem as we're seeing. And from your perspective, from a banking perspective, I should say, what kind of impact do you think that these high-profile battles have on a regulator's willingness to work with the crypto industry instead of against it? Like, is this type of publicity with Warren and CZ a good thing for the industry because it's kind of setting the record straight, even though Elizabeth Warren's calling foul right now?
Yeah, I think it raises the awareness, and it's what it does is actually puts the conversation top of the mind that this is really important topic that everybody's talking about, and it should be so. I mean, the Bitcoin. When I'm thinking about crypto, I'm thinking about Bitcoin mainly and its promise and what it stands for and what it's solving for many Bitcoiners, and from that perspective, anything that helps pushing this into the mainstream and start a conversation and expand the conversation and getting more people into talking about this openly. I think this is what democracy is all about at the end, like that we have a freedom of speech. We can talk about any topic. We can debate. We can have different conflicting views, but that's okay as long as we are civil. So, that basically helps to keep the conversation, keep the momentum. I mean, the strategic Bitcoin reserve was obviously the beginning of it, the start of it. But now we're past that and we are saying what's next already, like how the regulation will need to adjust, what the regulation should look like to really promote the innovation in Bitcoin and around Bitcoin, and how to get Bitcoin, across billions of people around the world. So I'm thinking again. I think it's net positive, and it's good we are talking about this because these are vital issues. And guess what? Like some of those problems that we have with deficits, like it's not only United States, it's other countries as well. Those problems may be fixed with Bitcoin. So having those strategic reserves and the Bitcoin appreciation rate, and in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, if Bitcoin continues the trajectory, becomes the established digital gold, overtakes gold and beyond, becomes like the capital, the way of storing value, and everybody knows that, then at this point, can become so valuable that some countries will solve their fiscal and monetary problems with that. So I think it's absolutely not positive.
Yeah, it seems like any kind of noise right now gets people to pay attention to things that they weren't paying attention to just 5 years ago. So it really speaks to how this landscape and the narrative has totally flipped in what's seemingly kind of a short amount of time. So yeah, like you said, I think it's a net positive. Let's get people talking about it. It used to just be, crypto is corrupt, but now it's people saying, some people still say crypto is corrupt, but we have this huge contingent of people that are saying it's not, and here's why. And those conversations, as you and I both know, are so important to have for the continued development of the Bitcoin ecosystem. So I agree with you on that one. It's good news. All right, we're moving on to the next story, Piotr. So hang 10, I'll be back with you in a second, because a new study says the average American spends 48% of their paycheck within 40 hours of getting it. Get it together, guys. That means half of all your money is gone in like 2 days. That's not financial management here, fam. That's financial speed running. Now, within the first 12 hours, a third of the paycheck disappears, mostly, on necessities, groceries, rent, and bills that refuse to wait. So if you ever wondered why your checking account feels haunted right after payday, well, congratulations, you are statistically normal. Researchers found millennials spend the fastest, burning through 40% of their money in half a day. Gen Z isn't far behind, but they get hit even harder, paying an average of $275 a year in overdraft and late fees, compared to just $27 for boomers. That's a 10-to-1 gap, and it's not because Gen Z is bad with money. It's because the system they're stuck in is designed for people who still write checks. Most bills hit early in the month. Rent hits first, credit cards hit right after, and then the paycheck hits whenever your employer feels like it. The result? Everyone's broke by Thursday. All right, bringing Piotr back. Piotr, so this new study says the average American spends almost half their paycheck within 48 hours of getting it. From your perspective, what's driving that right now? Is it bad habits? Is it inflation? Or just a system that makes saving practically impossible these days? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think this is absolutely the symptom of the broken system that we are currently living in, the fiat world, where you're basically on the treadmill and you're getting your salary and then you need to spend it real quick. I mean, the costs of everything literally are rising and have been rising because of the excessive money supply. The inflation in the system is always monetary, so basically we have more US dollars in existence, and that raises the prices across the board of everything. And guess what? The wages and salaries are not increasing automatically with the money supply. So it's not that like you go to your boss and says, there is like 10% inflation, I need the 10% raise automatically. That's not how it works, right? So you're capped on your salary, or your income is capped, whereas your costs are increasing and you're getting squeezed. And also, like, this also shows you the high time preference thing, the environment that we are living in, where it's just like you spend your money now because it's losing the value. Whereas in Bitcoin standard, that situation will be totally reverted, where you have, if you had a hard money like Bitcoin, it actually restoring the meaning of saving. Because guess what? If US dollars are losing value, there's no point in keeping more of them. You just want to spend them and keep your purchasing power while you still have it. Whereas in Bitcoin, for example, it makes sense to keep it and wait, just hodl and wait, because it will probably appreciate. It will keep the value and even more. So we always are talking about this situation where you're looking at the average house prices in US dollars, and then you're looking at the average house prices as denominated in BTC. And there is always this one picture that emerges that, in USD, everything goes up. So it squeezes everyone, whereas in Bitcoin, it only goes down. Everything goes down against Bitcoin eventually. So, that's it's a bad news that Americans are spending so fast, because that has a lot of downstream effects also. I think the problems that we have, with low birth rate and other stuff, these are downstream effects of that, because, if you're spending your money, right away, you don't have that money for any other purpose. You cannot plan for the future. you will struggle to start a
Hmm.
family, to buy your place, all of that stuff. There's lots of, downstream effects of that. Whereas on Bitcoin standard, it's totally reversed. Once you are on the Bitcoin standard, you have access to the hard money that does not deteriorate. So you don't need to spend it right away. You can actually accumulate it and it will keep the value and increase your purchasing power. So which makes you super
Hmm.
self-sovereign and it's how it should be, but everyone forgot about it because since 1970s we've been living in this fiat world where just we just increase the money supply and there is constant treadmill and constant squeezing of the middle class. I think this is also like related to the middle class and the fact that middle class is not really expanding. It's shrinking, right, in size. You have less and less people
Hmm.
that are in the middle class because the costs are rising and the incomes and revenues are capped. So there is
Yeah.
less money left after you've paid all the bills, mortgages and what have you.
Yeah, no, definitely everybody, especially that middle class, is getting squeezed right now under the traditional system. And, at Xapo Bank, Piotr, you and the team are merging Bitcoin and traditional banking under one roof. So, how do you think this kind of hybrid model in the future could actually help people keep more of their paycheck instead of just losing it to fees and timing issues? Like, what would the benefit be if I was getting paid in Bitcoin and fiat or just Bitcoin as opposed to fiat?
Yes. So at Xapo Bank, we exactly merged the old world. We bridged the old world with a new one. That's why we are offering USD services on USD and also on Bitcoin. You have access to your USD account and Bitcoin account in just one app, one banking app. But we also offer additional services on the BTC side that allow you to earn more Bitcoin, to stack more Bitcoin, to DCA into Bitcoin, also to borrow against Bitcoin so you don't need to spend it. I think the latest addition that we've added to the app is that possibility to borrow against Bitcoin, and people love it because, why would you spend the appreciating currency and instead of hodling the appreciating currency and spending depreciating currency, which is US dollars. So people can stack with
Hmm.
us and increase their Bitcoin reserve, their Bitcoin stack while spending US dollars, which are losing value, being printed out of thin air. And that's a perfect killer use case for even for your spending. There are people who are using this for they are borrowing against their stack and very flexibly, and they are paying for their operational expenses. They are living on Bitcoin standard, living off of that Bitcoin. There are people who are financing, homes, houses, purchases. There are like big hodlers who are financing yachts or some bigger purchases as well. And they don't need to spend that Bitcoin. They keep the Bitcoin. They keep the upside. And guess what? For example, we looked at there were people when we launched the lending, for example, 1 year ago, people
Hmm.
were started borrowing against Bitcoin, and had they sold that Bitcoin instead of borrowing, they would have missed on that, 30 or 40% appreciation that happened since then on BTC. Whereas right now, people who
Hmm.
decided not to sell but borrow against it, they kept the upside. So they literally increased their purchasing power on Bitcoin because they still own it, while the debt relatively, because
Right.
it's in US dollars, it's relatively lost its value. So and now they can repay or they can roll over. That's like up to them what they can do, what they want to do with it. But yeah, I think that at Xapo we've always believed that Bitcoin is the future of money, and if Bitcoin is future of money, then you actually want to stack more. You always want to have more,
Hmm.
and you want to keep it. I mean, although we do have services, for example, that allow you to spend Bitcoin. We have a debit card that works all around the globe in almost every single country, and you can spend Bitcoin through that card as well. And we've seen people doing this, obviously. So it's not only hodling, but also using the Bitcoin and sending, receiving Bitcoin, and spending Bitcoin via the card. But I think many people already learned that, sometimes it's better to borrow instead of sell, instead of spend, and because they will be better off after as time goes by, and the hardest currency wins and appreciates in value, where there's
Hmm.
other currencies devalue. We are also, I mean, at Xapo, we always wanted to have a place that will be increasing your wealth denominated in Bitcoin, and so we also have lots of sort of ways to earn more Bitcoin on the Bitcoin that you already have. For example, BTC savings account that we are offering currently, paying 0.5% on your BTC. And it's a great way to stack more sats. You're actually getting every day the interest paid out to your back in Satoshis to your account every single day. You're stacking sats. It's pretty cool to see that. Very like customers love this feature because basically every single day they get additional Satoshis. And the crazy thing about this is those Satoshis right now may not be worth much because it's just the daily interest for most people. But I guarantee you, like 10 years from now, you'll look at those screenshots. It's like looking right now at I was buying, Bitcoin 10 years ago and looking at those, statements from the Coinbase. And it's like, wow, okay, those prices, it's crazy. So I guess it's effective interest. Even if we pay Bitcoin on Bitcoin, effective interest rate is way higher because Bitcoin appreciation will, once it continues, then basically this interest will be worth more. Those Satoshis will be worth more. So, I've always been thinking about this. Like, it's like really stacking sats, getting more of those, Bitcoin nuggets into your account. And this is just effectively works for you, when you sleep. So, I think that's a great thing about Xapo that we allow people to do that. And we do it really in thinking about protecting the capital, protecting like low risk and protecting the principal. We would never offer something that would be risky or that would be, risk taking, excessive leverage, all of that, because we want to have a simple product that I could give it to my mom and trust that she won't lose money and she won't go bust. So, that was always our principle when building Xapo app.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's sound advice. I mean, we've seen it time and again. Anybody that's gone on and sold their Bitcoin has often come to regret it later because they're losing out on that upside you spoke about. And a perfect example of that is the country we're going to be talking about next, which of course is Germany, that sold a bunch of their Bitcoin not too long ago, and they would have reaped far greater gains had they just held on to it. But it looks like they might be turning over a new leaf here. So we're going to talk about it as we go into our Blockchain Without Borders segment right now. So let's run the stinger and get to it, guys. All right, well, we mentioned how Germany had actually sold a bunch of their Bitcoin holdings not too long ago, I think it was around like $50,000 of Bitcoin. Obviously now they've missed out on some pretty considerable gains. However, a company in Germany called Affinio AG is flipping the corporate finance world on its head by becoming the country's first official Bitcoin treasury company. Now, this isn't some meme coin moonshot, it's a full-blown financial strategy. Now, Affinio has launched a daring plan to transform ordinary business transactions into Bitcoin-first capital structure. They're targeting over 10,000 BTC by 2027, backed by an initial £3 million investment, or euro investment, excuse me. And the company's CEO, Stefan Kemp, calls it a Bitcoin machine. The idea? Turn boring B2B invoices into digital assets that build the company's Bitcoin reserves. They're not dipping a toe into crypto here, people. They're cannonballing straight into the deep end of monetary evolution. Now, Affinio's bold strategy mirrors this larger trend we're seeing. Institutions realizing that Bitcoin isn't just a speculative play, it's an inflation shield. The company argues that Bitcoin is no longer alternative finance, it's the new foundation for corporate resilience. We're bringing Piotr back in to chat about this. Piotr, this German company called Affinio AG just became the country's first Bitcoin treasury company. Now, for those that haven't heard the term before, what does it mean for a normal business to go full on Bitcoin first?
Yeah, so the Bitcoin treasury companies are the companies that are leveraging the playbook that was pioneered by Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy in the US. I think we have plenty of companies in the US that are doing this already. Now we've seen, companies in South Korea, in Japan, in other places. So very happy to see that Germany is also stepping into the area and starting this game. Now, I think that given that German environment in general, the fact you mentioned the fact that when the government was sold 50,000 Bitcoins, not that long time ago. And we can say that it was strategic blunder. Right now, I know also that in Germany it's not a pioneer country in terms of regulation and amount of bureaucracy there is in it's in not super friendly environment in crypto, but I hope it will change, it will get better. So it's great to see if that in that even that environment we have companies that are pioneering that and running that playbook, because those companies basically are recognizing that Bitcoin is this next digital gold of 21st century, the sovereign asset. This is the hardest money, by far, even if you compare with gold.
Yeah.
Now, I know that in Germany there's lots of Bitcoiners in Germany. I mean, they have quite a vibrant community of Bitcoiners, people who have been orange pilled. But still, doing this on a corporate scale and on an institutional level, that takes guts. It's a bold move, and happy to see that they are pioneering, because actually, if they can do it, then it means that others can follow suit. And most likely, we'll see not only in Germany other companies doing this, in Austria and all DAC like Switzerland area, but also all around the world. Now, people started to grasp that this playbook makes sense, because instead of buying US treasuries or instead of investing in gold, whatever have you, you're looking at this, apex asset and looking at the past returns and looking at the performance and the projected, the trajectory of it and all the characteristics and the fact that it's permissionless and the fact that it cannot be, turned off on the whim, and that nobody is really in control of it, because T-bills, whatever you have, it's always dependent on some people making a decision, and they may decide to sanction you for whatever reason, and you may struggle to get access to that. Whereas here we have permissionless asset. We have equivalent of holding gold in your own hands, and only you are self-sovereign and fully in control. So yeah, I think it's a great development, and yeah, happy to see that. I hope this continues. I hope this is the early sprouts in Germany of corporate and institutional adoption.
Yeah, no, we're certainly seeing it across Europe. What was it, that Spanish or Italian coffee company that became a Bitcoin treasury company? I know in the Nordic region, we have like the H100 group with Sander Anderson, and they were like the first company, I think, up that way is doing it. So we certainly are seeing that happen in Europe. And part of me has to wonder, like, is this due to the fact that Europe's MiCA laws now give companies more of a clear legal framework to hold and use crypto assets? So do you think that kind of clarity we're seeing over in Europe is kind of the key to unlocking those corporate Bitcoin adoption, on a more worldwide scale? Is that, I think, helping the cause?
Yes, absolutely. This is helping, because it's not only about the demand, which is there, and also the vibrant community of orange pill people who want to do it. It's also about, the infrastructure for custody, for, trading access. There is, and here the regulatory clarity is key, like what is allowed, what is not allowed, knowing exactly what the rules are, knowing what standards we employ with custodying Bitcoin, and what we can do, what we cannot do, what is the best practice, what is proven. All of this, the secure custody, regulated access, all of this is important. And once you have regulatory clarity, then you can actually do it. That has always been sort of like a blocker for any institutional adoption if the rules are unclear, or if there is a lack of clear regulatory framework, because people just don't want to take those kinds of risks and being rug pulled when then the regulation changes and they are totally left. Yeah, I think that definitely helps, having clear regulatory guidelines.
Yeah, and with these new guidelines in place, we're seeing companies like Affinio have these really massive Bitcoin goals. Affinio's is 10,000 Bitcoin by 2027, which seems really large for what's kind of a mid-sized firm. So my question for you, Piotr, is do you think we'll see more companies setting Bitcoin accumulation goals like this, similar to how corporations used to manage gold reserves? Because 10,000 in like a year's time, almost a year and a half, seems pretty ambitious.
Yes, so indeed, a pretty ambitious goal. But I think companies and people are realizing that, measuring amount of Bitcoin and Bitcoin per share and amount of Bitcoin is the soundest metric that you can come up with. And the reason is because if you keep measuring value in US dollars, you're getting really distorted picture of, oh, am I really up on this investment? Am I really getting returns, or is this just monetary debasement? So there's always this staggering picture of you're looking at the S&P 500, returns, and you see what is this, like 10% a year on average, and you're actually looking at this and you're wondering, okay, is this 10% really because the economy grew 10%, or is this because, the economy grew actually 2%, and the 7 or 8% the remaining is pure monetary debasement, it's just monetary inflation, it's just amounts of US dollars in circulation, so it just looks like it's going up. And the same all
Right.
across the assets. Like you look at real estate. Oh, is this house better than the other one? Or is this house better than the 10 years ago, the same house, right? No, it's not. It's probably the same house. It's just amount of dollars increase, and now it's so prices went up, but that's about it.
Right.
So people, once you start seeing this, you know that this is not reliable measure of any value, and you start measuring in Bitcoin. And once you measure in Bitcoin, we have perfect scarcity and there is a cap on supply. Now, this is super powerful if you think about this, that one BTC is really one BTC. So if someone says 10,000 BTC, I mean, that's not going to be debased. We are not making any more of that. So it's absolute scarcity. And that's why BTC per share always also tells you more than USD per share, because there is simply, you're
Right.
getting watered down in terms of USD. You may actually lose. You may gain in nominal terms, but you may actually lose your purchasing power. Whereas on Bitcoin, that doesn't happen. So I think I'd love to see those companies, start thinking in those terms when they are really thinking about increasing Bitcoin per share, increasing Bitcoin holdings, because that's the only thing that matters. And yeah, the more ambitious, the better, because people start thinking creative ways when there are ambitious targets to reach. And there are many ways of getting there. I mean, there are sort of they say like budget neutral ways. I mean, you can obviously you can buy more, you can borrow to buy more, you can DCA into it. You can do all different financial operations to acquire this Bitcoin, to purchase this Bitcoin. And it doesn't mean that this needs to be, in one go. It can be, spread over months, over days, over weeks, and that's fine too. But yeah, I think as long as they will be focusing on increasing Bitcoin per share and increasing Bitcoin holdings, then they will be good. Especially if you zoom out and look where they will be in 5 or 10 years from now.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and they're certainly not alone. We're seeing it in other parts of the world too that originally kind of turned a blind eye to Bitcoin and crypto, like South Korea, for instance, which we're going to talk about right now. So hang 10 there, Piotr. We'll be back with you in a second, because South Korea has officially joined the corporate Bitcoin club, and they're doing it in the most Korean way possible, completely within regulations, neatly documented, and probably triple stamped too. So meet BitPlanet, the country's first publicly traded company to buy Bitcoin. The Kosdaq-listed tech firm just picked up 92 BTC. It's about $11 million worth through a licensed Korean exchange. Now, compared to Michael Saylor's Mount Bitcoin, that's basically pocket change, but in Asia's most tightly regulated market, it's definitely a big first step. And for once, a Bitcoin headline doesn't end with under investigation. Now, this is the first time a Korean public company has bought BTC under the full supervision of the Financial Intelligence Unit, the country's financial watchdog. So, yeah, this isn't some shady offshore deal. This is a government-approved stack. Co-CEO Paul Lee said BitPlanet isn't buying to flip, it's buying to hodl. The plan? To accumulate Bitcoin daily through regulated exchanges until they hit a 10,000 BTC treasury. And they've got backing from Simon Garovich of Metaplanet, MicroStrategy, Sora Ventures, Kingsway Capital, and Parify Capital, basically the Avengers of institutional Bitcoin adoption. Their support signals confidence that BitPlanet's compliance-first model could become the template for corporate Bitcoin adoption all across Asia. Bringing Piotr back. Piotr, now we have BitPlanet. They've become South Korea's first publicly listed company to buy Bitcoin, and they did it by the book. So my question to you is, why is this such a big deal in a country known for strict financial oversight?
Well, it is a big deal because, South Korea is one of the most innovative economies in Asia. They've been always leading in, we have such great companies coming out of South Korea. I mean, everybody knows them. And this is really a success story as a country and as an economy. And so what they do really matters. And they are actually following the Japanese company, right? That is also very famous, the Bitcoin treasury company. And
MetaPlanet?
I think, the MetaPlanet. Yeah, exactly. And I think that this shows you that it's shifting how the corporations in general perceive value and how they want to, keep the value amid, the inflation and monetary debasement, and those balance sheets that they have, historically holding a fiat, liquid assets, government securities, T-bills, now holding Bitcoin. So they want to hold on something tangible. They want to hold something digitally scarce. They want to hold something that will not erode in value. Because even if you're up on your, fiat investment, in nominal terms, still in purchasing power, you may be down. And that's a shocking actually realization. Once you realize that, once you start seeing that, you see it everywhere. And then you're looking for what scarce assets I should buy to keep my purchasing power, to keep my money. And companies as well as families, as well as individuals, as well as countries. I mean, companies want to keep their money and reinvest and expand, etc. And they cannot live on the standard where their treasury holdings constantly are losing purchasing power. And that's a hard spot to be for many companies. Whereas in Bitcoin, if they only keep that Bitcoin for 5 or 10 years, I mean, you can imagine where they will be in terms of in terms of their balance sheet. So I think that's great to see that also coming from South Korea, and they following and seeing the success of MetaPlanet in Japan. I think it will open up the gates and will look like other companies in Southeast Asia and in East Asia and Asia in general. They will look up to them. They see their results and they will follow suit. So I think that's a great thing to see.
Yeah, it's just another example where we're seeing these seedlings of these Bitcoin native companies pop up all across the world. And every day you see one more or two more, and it's just becoming a little more ever present to where a couple years from now, it's just going to be the thing that exists.
Everywhere.
Not this new thing that seems so revolutionary right now. Yeah, but that's how it starts. All right, we got one more story to chat about here, so hang 10, Piotr, because France, the land of wine, baguettes, and perpetual protests, is now proposing a national Bitcoin strategic reserve of its own. You heard that right. The country that once taxed ketchup packets is now calling Bitcoin digital gold. A new bill from France's center-right UDR party aims to buy up to 420,000 Bitcoin, that's about 2% of the global supply, over the next 7 to 8 years. The proposal, led by lawmaker Eric Ciotti, would create a brand new government agency, an EPA, to manage the stash and store it securely. To fund this, France plans to redirect part of its Livret A savings scheme, that's the country's most popular savings account, toward daily Bitcoin purchases. That's roughly 55,000 Bitcoin a year being quietly DCA'd by the French government. And yes, they even floated the idea of paying taxes in Bitcoin, which sounds incredible until you remember how many people already still can't file taxes online without crying. But that's not all. The bill also proposes using excess nuclear power for public Bitcoin mining. Because apparently, if your nuclear plant's got spare juice, you might as well turn it into Satoshis. And it doesn't stop there either. The legislation would make stablecoin payments up to €200 per day tax-free, because even in France, nobody likes paying fees. bringing Piotr back. Piotr, France, of all places, just proposed creating a national Bitcoin reserve. Were you surprised to see a country known for regulation and tradition taking such a bold step toward Bitcoin adoption?
Yes, it was a great news, and actually made a lot of comments and debates internally here at Xapo. We actually were discussing this morning, the France development. So I think, yes, they are known for the wines and what have you. It's a beautiful country, but most people probably don't know, but they are also very strong and have a significant nuclear energy infrastructure. They have lots of energy, deriving lots of their energy from nuclear. And now the idea that they could put some of that energy and use some of that energy to use to support the Bitcoin mining operations is actually a big deal, because that energy, the nuclear energy, is probably the safest and most cost-effective way and most sustainable way moving forward for humanity in 21st century. Now, if you use that energy to support the Bitcoin mining operations, you can literally transform the energy into digital capital. You can literally store that energy, and Bitcoin is a perfect mechanism here to store that energy. So once they start doing this, they may very quickly become a leader in this, because they are so well positioned with all their nuclear plants and nuclear energy infrastructure that they currently have, and they are leading on that front as well. So I think that's a good thing. There is also an aspect of, I think there was a mention of 2% of all Bitcoin in issuance there, that France wants to actually build their reserve. I mean, remember we've had the strategic Bitcoin reserve in the US, and that's exactly what happens when one big country that is leading and everybody's looking up to that country, meaning US, starts doing something. Then other countries notice, and other countries start discussions around what's our answer here, what's our play, what do we do? And apparently France is very quickly to notice. They just saw the strategic Bitcoin reserve. They said, guys, we need to have something similar. And so I'm super happy, because it's just France is that country with strong, democracy, the democratic history, and they have pretty mature democracy, let's say, but they came up really quick with that bill, and now this is pretty cutting edge and could be a game changer when combining with their nuclear energy. So I think that fact that we have a domino that is starting with France, Germany, other countries in European Union, and fast forward a few years from now, everybody will be doing this, and indeed we will have a gold rush where not only individuals, not only orange pill Bitcoiners are crying about not having enough Bitcoin, not only families, not only companies, but also countries. Everybody will be like in the gold rush to stack more, because guess what? It's absolutely capped. It's only 21 million. We're not making any more. There's lots of coins that have been lost, will never be recovered. No one is printing this anymore. So you either get now or you will regret 5-10 years from now. And this dynamic, this beautiful dynamic, plays the same way to individuals as well as to countries.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It certainly seems like the writing is on the wall. And like you said, this is just another domino that we're seeing each and every day. I mean, these conversations would never even have taken place 5 years ago. But the very fact that even if this doesn't pass, it's certainly sending a message to the rest of the world about how seriously governments are starting to view Bitcoin right now. And like you said, America kind of front-running things. It only seems fair that the country that has the orange president should also be the leader of the orange coin. But we'll see how that all plays out. So Piotr, it's always a blast having you on the show. So thank you so much for your time today. Before we let you go, though, you always got a lot of wise words for us and our audience here in the show. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are craving more. So what's the best place they can go to check out any hot takes that you have and or learn more about what you and the team are doing over at Xapo Bank?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter or X. You can find me on X. I'm actually from time to time posting updates on what we are doing under the hood at Xapo Bank, what new products we are shipping, what developments we're having. It's pretty exciting stuff. We have some pretty exciting, new products coming out. We are rolling out some products. We've recently launched Bitcoin-backed loans. We will be coming with new, earn on Bitcoin products as well. And yeah, so check me on X, and because I'm posting interesting updates from under the hood, what's happening behind the curtains at Xapo Bank, and what new things we are shipping there. Also,
Amazing.
if you have
Well, we
any
certainly
feedback, by the way,
appreciate you.
if there is, yeah, also if there is any feedback, by the way, just ping me directly. I mean, I'd love to hear any feedback you might have about the, Xapo Bank or in general Bitcoin, etc. So, super, ping me anytime.
Amazing. Well, Piotr, thank you so much for your time today, and we're excited to have you back really soon. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your week, my friend. Appreciate you stopping by.
You too. Thanks, Hank. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. We're taking a quick break here at the Blockchain Report. When we're back, more of today's top news, and we got another guest coming up in just a little bit that you are not going to want to miss. So stay tuned. The Blockchain Report will be back your way right after this quick message.